The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Greetings to all of our listeners out there as well as our viewers, because today's show is being televised. I'm Dave Clifton, and welcome to WPRO, the voice of Southern New England. And you can hear us on the radio. We have been on for the past 15 years, talking about the good things that happen in local communities and beyond. And again, we have an opportunity today to not only speak with our listening audience, but those folks out there may be watching. A big thank you out there to ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television, and SCTV, two community TV studios that are covering this show. And of course, you can hear us on AM 630 or FM 99.7. We are certainly a cumulus station, and we not only talk about the good things that are happening, but we like to talk about the good things that people do to make a difference. And our two guests today, I call one person Mr. Good, and another guy who's going to be joining us later, State Senator Walter Timilty. And he covers the eastern and a few communities here in the area. But he certainly is a guy that is well respected. And my first guest, Glenn Parsons. Glenn happens to be the president and chief CEO at SCU. And
That's
Glenn,
right.
Thank you so much for joining us here in WPRO. What does SCU stand for?
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. SCU stands for Sharon Crescent United Credit Union.
And I know that when it first started out, it was called the Sharon Credit Union. And of course, the home office was in Sharon. And now you're spread out. How many branches, Glenn?
We have 12 branches currently across a lot of communities in the South Coast, I guess I should say, as well as two operation centers, one in Sharon and one in Brockton.
I know Glenn Parsons, way back, he grew up in Sharon, Massachusetts, where I worked for some 40 different years as a community leader. And he's well respected. And I say Mr. Good because of the fact that he's done a lot of terrific things over the years. And you've got another terrific thing coming up. It's been decided by folks in the Sharon community that they wanted to put the name of a former athletic director and head basketball coach. His name is Dudley Davenport. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So Dudley Davenport, I'm sure you can explain who he is or was, but this is an event whereby the gymnasium in Sharon, the new high school, will be named after him. Dudley was athletic director and coach for many, many years. The event is February 16th. At 5 o'clock, there's going to be a meet and greet with the family, friends, and former players. And then just prior to tip-off at 6:30 against Stoughton, the Eagles will be facing off against Stoughton. There'll be a few words spoken, and the gym will be officially dedicated. There'll be a plaque that's unveiled.
Glenn, give us a few stats about the former coach and athletic director, Dudley Davenport. He has been involved so many years and is well respected as a coach, but he has a certain amount of victories and losses over the years. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So I had the pleasure of, with a teammate as a player, presenting a game ball to Dudley for his 200th win. And he went on to win another 123, I believe. I think he has 323 or 328 victories, something like that, 115 losses. So quite an accomplished coach for sure. Multiple Hawkmock League championships, appearances in the Boston Garden, so on and so forth.
It's interesting. I know he was inducted into the MIAA, the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, their Hall of Fame. So when that happens in Massachusetts, which is sponsored by the MIAA, that means a big deal to a lot of coaches. But you played for him as a basketball player in high school. What was it like? Let's get a player's viewpoint.
Well, I think certainly in those days, most of the kids growing up in Sharon really wanted to play basketball, and they wanted to play basketball for Dudley. He had really built the program to the point where we all aspired to do so. And I was very fortunate enough to be able to participate and have him as a coach. He was not only very accomplished as a coach, but as a former player himself, both at URI, where he was a 2-year starter, I believe, and Westport High School, where he held the scoring record for quite some time. So he certainly came in with some credentials. He had a presence about him, physical size. He was sort of intimidating in that sense, but he had a big smile. He was very welcoming. So it was a nice combination. We never wanted to let him down. He was quite a coach. I can tell you though, one thing I do recall is if we were to lose a game, the next morning at practice, usually it was Saturday morning, he'd be taping our ankles, and he would tape them twice as tight. And nobody was courageous enough to tell him that they was too tight, because he was not a happy camper. He was very, very competitive.
Tell us about his college career. I know the folks here in Rhode Island would like to hear this story. He was an outstanding player, and he also captained. He was the captain his junior and senior year.
That's correct. Very accomplished player. As I said, came out of Westport High School with all sorts of credentials. Played for 4 years at URI, captain the final 2 years. Very good player.
So at the University of Rhode Island, he was an accomplished player, as you mentioned, Glenn. But he also was very active in the community in more ways than one. His wife, Shirley Davenport, was the town clerk back in Sharon, Massachusetts. And he was well respected, not just by his players, but by the community as well.
Without question. And in fact, he was a member of the board of directors at Sharon Credit Union, and ultimately became chairman of the board for many years. So I had the opportunity, the pleasure to see him not only as a coach, but then to see him operate as a leader in the business community. And he commanded the same sort of respect amongst the adults as he had with the former players, the children.
I had the opportunity to interview him on a number of occasions during the halftime or maybe at the end of the game, because he had so many victories as a high school coach. But he didn't want to stay too long because he wanted to get back to the players. So if it was at halftime, the conversations were brief. He had to get back into the locker room. But he had a good assistant coach who his name was Joe Peckham. And he was a very successful JV coach as well. So they worked well together. And you could see that before the season started, they were well trained, no doubt about it. What can you say about the assistant coach, Joe Peckham?
So I knew Mr. Peckham for many years. Initially, Pop Warner football, he was a coach there as well. And he was actually the freshman basketball coach when I was a freshman. So had an assistant football coach for the varsity level as well. So had multiple interactions with him, both football and basketball through the years. Ironically, his probably his primary passion was baseball, and he became the baseball coach after I had graduated, so I never played baseball for him. But he was a great guy. He was also my guidance counselor.
Going back to Dudley Davenport, his varsity coach, you played for him when they went to the tournament at the old Boston Garden. As a matter of fact, I think you were a freshman at the time. How far did they actually go in the tournament?
Well, I went to the finals that year, and I will point out I was a freshman who sat on the bench and watched those games. That was a very good team, but I was there, and it was a great run.
When I think of one of the players he had, and of course there were many that were outstanding, but last name was Shine. Mm-hmm. He certainly was recognized as an all-scholastic back in his day. But he ended up moving to Easton and went to the Oliver Ames Sharon High School contest, which was a battle. You had Dudley Davenport coaching the Eagles, and you had Val Moscato, a well-known name in the Easton area. He was a Fall Hall of Fame coach, and what a rivalry that was. Always a packed house, too.
We were just talking about that the other day, yesterday, I believe it was, and how back in those days you had to get into the gym as a spectator during the JV game, or you wouldn't get in at all. They would be sold out.
Now, do you expect a big crowd to be at Sharon High School? And that date is what, May 16th?
February 16th.
February 16th, and they will be renaming. Is it the gym or just the floor?
It's the gymnasium itself.
The gymnasium itself will be called the Dudley Davenport Gymnasium, and it's a brand new school, folks, last year. So it's very appropriate that they do this. And the JV coach was also the head baseball coach, and my understanding is that they're going to rename one of the new diamonds in memory of Joel Peckham. So I think it's a nice tribute. A lot of communities have done that, and I think it's in respect for the coaches. I think it's long overdue, and I'm happy that it's going to happen. You got a committee that's involved in putting their time and effort into planning that with you, Glenn. Tell us about those folks.
Sure. So when Dudley passed almost 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago now, really it was at the memorial service that a few of us were talking, and we said, hopefully we can get the gym dedicated to him at some point in time, and we sort of started to work on it back then. Most recently, things have come together. I should point out that Ted Phillips, Lou Kafka, Rico Cabral, as well as Gene Katz, and Bunchy Leonard have all been providing some input, and myself, of course. And SCU Credit Union is sponsoring the event that evening.
Terrific. I'm talking to Glenn Parsons. He's the president and CEO of SCU, which has a number of branches scattered throughout the Commonwealth. I'm Dave Clifton, happy to be with you today. I do miss my co-host, Val Perry. She's on sick leave today, but we're happy to have our radio show here on WPRO, televised by ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. Hurry back, folks.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired, Counseling Presents, a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
In 2023, Easton is a tight-knit community of 25,000 people. But with the hustle and bustle of modern life, it's easy to forget our past. A time when Easton's population was 6,000.
Everybody knew who everybody was.
And there was respect.
There was respect for everyone.
When kids enjoyed great freedom and independence.
Everybody was poor at today's standards, but we all were in the same boat and we enjoyed life.
So join me, Priscilla Almquist Olsen, as I explore what makes Easton so very special with some of its lifetime residents.
I think Easton has so much to offer, and if you're living in a community, you have to know it.
Watch Growing Up in Easton Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Friday at 9 p.m. See you then.
Welcome back to Service Matters. This is a radio show on WPRO that has been on the air for almost 15 years, talking about the good things that happen in local communities and beyond. And as someone said to me last week, thank God we have a show that talks about good things, because the world's gotten a little crazy. And we certainly have to make sure that the world gets back to where it belongs. But I think on this show, it gives us a chance to recognize people in the community. My guest is Glenn Parsons. He joins me on the air today. And he has a face for TV, but we're also on radio, because I have a face for radio. But it's amazing what makeup can do, folks. But I did want to say that there's lots of terrific things that are going on out there in local communities in our listening and viewing area. We got folks out there. I got to tell you the story, Glenn, about being at Dunkin' Donuts and ordering my coffee through a window. And the guy in front of me paid the bill. So I didn't recognize the card, but I reached out and waved at him. And I thought that was kind of a nice thing to do. And so I said to the woman waiting on me, I think I'll do that for the car behind me. And as I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw 7 people in the car. But that's okay. I did what I said I wanted to do. And I was telling my wife about it, and she said, you really should look in the window, because one of these times there could be a bus behind you. But it is a nice thing for people to do. And I was in a supermarket doing some shopping, and this guy in front of me, he looked like he worked at one of the credit unions, whether it be the Navigant in Rhode Island or your corporate office in Brockton. And there was a woman in front of him. He had 2 carriages. She had 2 carriages and 2 kids with her. So the guy in the suit said, how many children do you have? And she said, I have 7. And she was trying to go through her stuff to find her wallet, and was taking a considerable amount of time. And she said, I must have left out in the car. So this guy says, no, excuse me, ma'am. I would like to take care of that for you. She says, oh, no, that's not necessary. I got a lot of food here. I not only have 7 kids, but they eat a lot. So he says, I insist. So he picked up the tab, and I was very impressed. I was behind him, and I thanked him for it. What a nice gesture, especially when it's a family so large that I'm sure that they could do a lot of things for the holidays. But I know that your, I should say, SCU has done something similar. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, we did it a year ago first, and last month as well. There's a day called World Kindness Day. It's an actual thing. We didn't invent it. But I went to 5 supermarkets in our area, in our footprint, Brockton, Taunton, Mansfield, Foxborough, North Attleboro, and purchased $550 gift certificates, and then wandered up and down the aisles and found people that we felt as though might be deserving and appreciative of such a gift, and we surprised them with that gift, and we told them we had nothing to do with the store. We're from SCU Credit Union, but it really is not about either of those two things. It's about World Kindness Day, and we had a wonderful response. Some people burst into tears. Some people said they weren't deserving of such a gift. It was a really heartwarming experience. It was the most fun part of the job.
What a terrific idea. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to follow Glenn Parsons around to see when he goes shopping next. Just kind of mill around. Only kidding. But when I think of you, Glenn, I think of your dad, Glenn Parsons Sr. He's home right now. He may be listening to this show. But just wanted to say hello to him and wish him nothing but the best during the holiday season. But I said that your son takes after you because he's very kind as well. And you were. I can always remember you, a former public relations guy at the John Hancock Insurance. Mm-hmm. And that goes way back when they were sponsoring, I think, the Boston Marathon at the time. And we're a very giving company that did what they could to help others. And I guess what I'm trying to say, Glenn, and your dad who may be listening, that we're all in the helping people business. We do what we could to help people out. There may be some people that are in danger. And I think of that police officer doing CPR with the use of an AED, an automated external defibrillator, to save the life of someone that he came to the rescue for. Or I think of that firefighter who goes into a fire in a home to bring out 2 children and the mother. Saved their life. He saved 3 people's lives because he put himself above and beyond to do what he could to save a life. And we are forever grateful to all the public safety people out there, the EMTs, the first responders, for stepping up to do what they can to save a life. And that's why we hear them. You hear people sometimes joke. I saw a police officer having coffee the other day. I wonder if that was his 3rd coffee. But folks, when the chips are down, they step up to the plate to save a life. Always remember, Glenn, that young boy who was jogging up the street. He had something around, a bandana around his head and his sneakers and shorts. And he ran by the senior adult who was getting ready to cross the street. She had 2 bundles in her hand. I'm walking up the street, the jogger goes by me, and he stops at the senior adult, and he puts his stuff that he had in his hand, and he says, "Ma'am, can I help you across the street?" So he carried her bundles. This is a teenager. Sometimes teenagers get a bad rap, but here's a young person who helped the woman across the street. She thanked him, gave him a hug, and off he went back jogging. I had to yell him down because he left his phone on the other side of the street. So I gave it to him and I shook his hands, and I found out what his telephone number was. And because I do this show, I like to recognize him, and I did. And certainly he didn't want to come on radio or TV for that matter. But I wanted his parents to know that their son stopped to do this good deed. And they should know it. They brought him up, and they should be congratulated for what they have done with him. I always tell that story about a woman that I found out that couldn't help her son with tuition to go to college. Doesn't come from Massachusetts or Rhode Island, comes from Connecticut. And she found out that night that she won the lottery. So off to college the kid went. isn't that amazing how that happened to happen? Happened to certainly not save his life, but to make sure that he got his education. We're going to take another short break. My guest is Glenn Parsons. He is the corporate CEO and president of SCO. They got a number of branches scattered throughout the Bay State here in Massachusetts. You're listening to WPRO, the voice of Southern New England, and thank you for watching on ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Hi, I'm Ron Van Dam. I've been in radio for 3 decades now and have been doing a daily podcast-style show for a few years. But once a week, I come to the ECAT studio where they give me wine and cheese.
Hey, welcome to the program. How are you? Good to be with you. Hey, you're looking good today.
Thanks for being here. Make yourself comfortable. This won't take too long. It'll be a little bit painful for you, but in the long run, it's important for you to go through this. And I do a TV version of the podcast. I talk about what's going on in the world and in the area and give my opinions on things. That's both something to look forward to and also a warning. So tune in to see me move my mouth while I talk. Who knows? We might have something in common. Probably not, but you never know. Catch my show here, The Ron Van Dam Show, right here on ECAT.
It's The Ron Van Dam Show. Hold on tight, things can get a bit weird, if you like that sort of thing.
Here we go. My name is Harrison Young, and after 13 years of talk show experience, I seek to bring you the best in interviews with some of the very best guests around, including, and here we are, experts.
I've seen thousands of demons actually come out of the mirror one time.
Wow. Musical guests and artists.
If I say how I feel, would you really listen?
And interesting characters of all types.
I threw that kid across the classroom. Look, he didn't try that ever again.
Wow. Join me at Topic Time on your Eastern cable station anytime they want to play it. And from what I understand, that's quite a few times a day. I love it.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
podcasts.
Yes. ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT Podcast Channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Welcome back to another segment of Service Matters. I'm Dave Clifton. Val Perry is not with me today. She'll be back next week. I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of my guest, Glenn Parsons, and myself, and of course, Adam Carrero. He's our producer here at the TV studio. Brett Ferruccio is the producer. He happens to be the head producer at WPRO. He's back in Providence, and this show will be played live every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. And just tune in on AM 630 or FM 99.7, and you get a chance to listen in on some of the terrific things that are happening. Right now, I'd like to give a pat in the back to the Navicant Credit Union. Their customers are their owners are their customers. They have a total of 24 branches. Their motto happens to be people helping people. Do you need a personal loan? How about your mortgage? Maybe you'd like to buy a car. Maybe you need a vacation. Make sure you invite me on that vacation. But visit one of those 24 branches here in Rhode Island and tell them that Dave sent you. And for the folks in Massachusetts, you have that option because I happen to have the CEO and president of SCU. It's a credit union with a number of branches, and they certainly do a lot of terrific things as well. And Glenn, I know that there's a lot of people behind the scenes. You have a board of directors. You have lots of employees. How many branches again, and how many employees?
Approximately 170 employees across 12 branches and 2 operation centers.
Terrific. I did want to ask you, I know your credit union has done some terrific things over the years. There was one function I was at, I think you will recognize the Boys and Girls Club. And I'll let you tell the story about that, but this happened over at Gillette Stadium. And there he was, Glenn Parsons, up at the microphone, thanking everybody for being there. And I was there as a guest. And I enjoyed your words of wisdom. And most important of all, I enjoyed what you did with the Boys and Girls Club. Tell us about that.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. Boys and Girls Club of Brockton and Taunton, those areas in particular, do wonderful things for the children in those communities, and SCU is proud to participate and to help them financially as much as we can. That particular event that you're referring to was their annual gala. It was a nice setting, nice food for everyone, great people there. They raised some more funds as in the process as well. Mac Jones is also a big participant, assistant, helping Boys and Girls Club out as well. So it was a great night, and they recognized us for being such us being SCU Credit Union for being such a strong partner.
And of course, there was another Jones there in the audience who was the quarterback with the New England Patriots. And of course, he's had a tough year, but I got to tell you, folks, I get to talk to him personally. And there's more than just being a quarterback. He's a terrific guy. He has good things to say about people, and including the Patriots organization. I certainly wish him the best, knowing the kind of individual that he is. Now, your board of directors, they have a big responsibility, and of course, you just combined with Crescent. And it must have been a lot of hard work, and of course, it happened during the COVID period. But and you have been in that role that you have for a little over a year, and you look very comfortable in that role, and you got a terrific personality, Glenn Parsons, that people appreciate. I had a family relative who was over at your bank in Brockton, and they saw this guy in a suit walking around shaking hands with the people in the cars and people coming to the credit union. And it was Glenn Parsons. That's the kind of guy he is. How many people do you see outside of their banks or credit unions shaking hands with people? I guess they get to know him. They certainly probably shake hands inside. And I think of all the things that the Navicon Credit Union does in Rhode Island. It's truly amazing, Glenn. And you do the same thing here in Massachusetts. And we're forever grateful for you to be here. So we know that State Senator Walter Timilty has arrived on the scene, but I did have another question, Glenn.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you, first of all, we talked about your board of directors. They have a big responsibility, but you got a big staff. You said over 170 employees. How do you keep control over all that? That's amazing.
Well, they're good people. They're good, dedicated employees, and They work hard. We've evolved into the new world order of sort of a hybrid work situation, which is quite different from the way it had been a few years ago. And I think the employees appreciate our flexibility in making that happen. So it's a cooperative endeavor for sure, a work in progress, but they're great employees and they get a lot of work done for us.
And I thank you Glenn Parsons, for all the good stuff you do. As the CEO and president of SCU, a number of branches scattered throughout the Bay State. We have another guest that joins us today speaking about good things. He's a very kind person. He's got a great reputation. He used to be the state senator in the Sharon, Mass area, where you came from, Glenn. Mm-hmm. And I came from. I now live in Easton. And I have with me State Senator Walter Timilty. He now has Easton in his neighborhood because of the fact that there's been a redistricting. And I said good things and a kind person because you are following in the footsteps of your family members who have served in the legislature. I'd like to wish everybody out there a happy holiday season, and you too, State Senator. Tell us, I know that I appreciate you being here today because you're running around maybe visiting schools, but thank you so much for being here on WPRO.
David, thank you very much. And Glenn, nice to see you as always. It's an honor to be here. And right off the bat, a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy Hanukkah and Happy Holidays to everybody in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's great to be here. It's my privilege also to represent the town of Easton, Bridgewater, West Bridgewater, Stoughton, Braintree, Milton, and Randolph. And I've represented Easton now since January 2017.
And I know a lot of the Sharonites very pleased with you in that spot for a number of years. And you had family members before you. But I wanted to say that people are excited about you being here in the Eastern Massachusetts area. You've been a big help on a lot of things going on, whether it be sewer projects or what have you. But what's on your agenda at the State House? I know you have a lot of responsibility.
I do. I'm the chair of Public Safety and Homeland Security. And I also sit on and am a member of 5 other legislative joint committees. And of course, the lion's share of legislative work is done in the committees, the joint committees, with House members. There's a House chair and a Senate co-chair, and House and Senate members. And every single bill gets a hearing, as it should. There are approximately 6,000 bills in the legislative process right now. We operate on 2-year sessions. By Constitution, we meet every 72 hours. That's mandated. But of course, the job is so much more than that. We have committee hearings on a regular basis. I am, along with my co-chair and my fellow committee members in the Public Safety Committee, I'm responsible for every single bill that comes into the committee in terms of its disposition. We can offer a favorable recommendation for a bill, an unfavorable, or put a bill into a study. And I also serve on 5 other committees. So there's a lot of committee work to be done. And that's the most visible and obvious things that we do in the State Senate and in the House of Representatives. But to me, that's only half of what we do. We're partners for our partners in local government. We're there to advocate for the towns and cities that we represent. We're also there to help people. Very much a big part of my job is akin to being a social worker. We're the most visible people in our communities, and when people need help, it's incumbent upon somebody like myself who serves as a senator or a state rep. We're very visible people, and people, when they need help, reach out to us, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
It's interesting, Senator, before you came, Glenn and I were talking about all of us seem to have that role. We're all in the helping people business.
Yes.
It's nice to hear you say that. And I mentioned earlier that you got a great reputation.
Thank you, Dave.
You're not only a handshaker, a guy with a smile on his face, running back and forth. It's more than just one full-time job. It's like having 2 full-time jobs. You do what you can to make people happy and to do what you can. I was always impressed with the way you performed. And what is it like sitting down with your family during the holidays? Do you talk politics or do you stay away from that subject?
Not a lot of politics. I'm blessed. I have 2 nieces and a nephew, and my parents, both in their late 70s now, and they both work full time. I have 2 great sisters and a great brother-in-law, so we have a lot of fun things to talk about. My nephew, who's my parents' oldest grandchild, was just accepted to his first college. He's a senior at Milton High School. So we have a lot of exciting things to talk about.
I'm going to ask you to hold that thought. We have to take one final break.
Certainly.
I'm Dave Clifton. You're listening to WPRO, and you may be watching this on ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. Let's take this short break. We'll be back after these messages.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Hi, I'm Jen from Fantasy Crafts. Turn your average household items into fun for the whole family. Let your imagination run wild. It was my decision. You be quiet over there. Fantasy Crafts playing Monday at 3 p.m., Wednesday at 1 p.m., only at ECAT.
There's a storm.
Join me, Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, to explore the town of Easton and its interesting, engaging, ordinary, and extraordinary people, and meet a smorgasbord of guests, including artists, authors, musicians, business owners, community organizations, clergy, local leaders, etc., etc., etc. Community Forum at 3 p.m. on Thursdays and 1:30 p.m. on Saturdays. See you then.
Welcome back to the final segment of Service Matters. I'm Dave Clifton, and again, we're talking about all the good things that happen in local communities and beyond. And we have a reputation, too, how important it is with some of the craziness that goes on around the world. I think we got to bring everybody back and get everybody focused. My guest today has been Glenn Parsons, the president and CEO of SCU. And we also have State Senator Walter Timilty. And we were talking about your sit-down meeting during the holidays with your family. You got so many things to talk about that probably it's best just to enjoy the dinner and save the conversation, because you are on top of everything that you're doing. And I'm happy to see that one of your committees would be public safety. And how important that is, folks. When we were talking on the show earlier, Senator, we were talking about a police officer who actually saved a life by doing CPR and using an AED. We were talking about a firefighter who went into a home and brought out 2 kids and a mother, saved their lives. And you don't realize it until there's a need. So there's lots of respect out there. We have a well-respected state senator with us, Walter Timilty. And you've had a great year, very busy with all the stuff going on. Is there anything you'd like to say to the folks that may be watching this on ECAT?
Oh, thank you, Dave. I'd love to. Well, first of all, there's so many great things going on in this great town of Easton. We have 2 state champions out of Oliver Ames. State championship soccer team, repeat champions, I might add. Joe Carney scored an overtime goal to win it all in the championship game. And our women's cross-country team at Oliver Ames are state champs now as well. I issued an invitation right after their successes back in the fall, and looking forward to hosting them at the State House. I thought the Easton Lions, along with their partners, 13 different student groups from Oliver Ames, did a great holiday festival last week in conjunction with the Easton Women of Today. And, last week, 2 weeks ago, I was on December 1st, actually, I was at the Oaks Ames Hall at night. There was a wonderful concert that was put on.
I heard you were there.
Yeah, it's just so many great things happen in this great town. People just pull together. And, as the chair of public safety and homeland security, to touch on another one of your points, I have the privilege of working with police departments, fire departments, the Mass State Police, the National Guard from across the Commonwealth. And we just have A-plus people in public safety across the Commonwealth, whether it be our local police, local fire departments, our state police, our National Guard. We are well served, and it's an honor to work with each and every one of those folks in those various departments.
And I want to go back to Glenn Parsons for a minute. Some final comments, Glenn. I know that folks over there in the town of Sharon are going to be renaming the high school gymnasium after former head basketball coach Dudley Davenport. And I know that we've got a very active police and fire and a brand new public safety building, which Easton is going to be doing very shortly. They're underway in terms of their planning and preparing.
Well, as we said earlier, the event will be February 16th, dedicating the gym to Dudley Davenport. 5 o'clock is a meet and greet. We had talked about doing it after the game, but a lot of folks are going to be traveling, we believe, from Connecticut and Rhode Island, and perhaps after the game needed to drive back. So we're going to do something before the game itself. And we're looking forward to having a great turnout. We really are.
Thank you so much, Glenn, for being here today. And Senator Timilty, any final comment that you'd like to make?
Well, thank you very much, Dave. First of all, thank you for having me on. Touching on the concept of public safety buildings and brand new public safety infrastructure, which we're desperately in need of around the Commonwealth. I have a bill right now pending before my committee to create a public safety building authority, which is modeled after the school building authority, which has been a rousing success because, as we all know, cities and towns can't rebuild this infrastructure on their own. We have a dedicated revenue source. Many of the fire stations in the towns that I represent pulled horse-drawn apparatus at one time, to give you an example. And police stations just aren't ready or equipped to conduct modern-day policing. So it's a bill with a dedicated revenue source, and I've patterned it exactly on the school building authority. And we have a beautiful elementary school here in this town of Easton now, brand new, because of the school building authority and because the voters in this town stepped up. It was a wonderful partnership in the leadership of the school building committee and our superintendent and our school committee. It's a partnership, and that's a bill that I'm pushing. I believe it will help out, and I will have a grandfather clause in it, the bill, to make sure the towns that people have already done the right thing, like the voters here in Easton have, to pay the money to make sure their police and fire have the infrastructure they need to protect and serve.
Terrific.
So it's very important, and I have wonderful partners here in the town of Easton to work with.
And I want to thank you, Senator Timilty, for squeezing in some time to join us today. And I thank you, Glenn Parsons, for all the good stuff that your folks are doing on a day-to-day basis. The three of us wish everybody out there a happy holiday season.
Yes.
As we approach the holidays and, of course, a new year coming, 2024. Senator, congratulations to the town of Easton.
Yes.
They will be celebrating their 300th anniversary in the year 2025, a chance to bring the entire community together. So I'm Dave Clifton. Val Perry will be back next week, bidding you farewell from our studios here at ECAT as we broadcast on WPRO, the voice of Southern New England. I say to each and every one of you out there as we play our favorite song, what a wonderful world, and what a wonderful world it is. Because of people like yourself, my guest here today, thank you again, Senator Walter Timilty, and Glenn Parsons, the local CEO at the SCU. So, folks out there, enjoy the new year as we approach it. How fast 2025 will come. That wraps it up. Thank you for joining us.